Just got off work and I'm heading home. It's been a really nice couple of days to ride in the mid-70s, but my temp tag expired and I haven't had time to fix it. Nobody likes going to the DMV. Today I thought we'd talk about my tire blowout that happened about a week or so after I got this car delivered, so about 2 weeks after I bought it. This is my Audi TTS 2017. If you didn't know, I got a video on it. Go check that out. And I love the thing. I've actually been looking around at other cars I might want more, but I've looked at pretty much everything and there's not really anything I'd want more after owning this, except cars that are over $100,000. Anyway, let me paint a picture for you. Let me give you a story. About a week after I got the car, I was driving home from work, and I come around a turn, and we're gonna get to the turn pretty soon. But I come around a curve, I'm merging from one street to another, and the light's green, so I'm going pretty fast because I don't need to yield. About midway through the turn, the curve, I see something in the road. I still don't know what it is. It's either a big chunk of wood or a giant rock. It was about this big, and by then I did not have time to react or swerve out of the way. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh crap, I'll just take this one like a champ. So boom, right over it, front left wheel. I feel it, pretty big impact. Luckily it didn't bounce up and hit my paint anywhere, just got my wheel. And I kept driving. So I drive for another mile or two down the road before I hit a stoplight I have to stop at, and everything's good. My car's not yelling at me about a flat tire. So I was like, all right, this is going to be good. Nothing happened. I am extremely lucky. This is my first car with 20-inch wheels, so the tires are pretty low profile. I thought any little thing is going to pop them. But then I started thinking, wow, these tires are pretty nice. 20-inch wheels aren't as bad as people say. Well, it turns green and I set off. A light pops up on my dash and my car starts screaming at me, low tire pressure. So I limp to the nearest place that I can actually pull over. And I had to pull over in the grass, basically. Get out, and wouldn't you know it, my tire's flat. But it was really hard to tell that the tire was flat since they're such low profile tires anyway, and I was in the grass. I had driven about a mile after it told me that my tires were flat. I thought my wheel was going to be all screwed up also because I was driving on a flat tire. But turns out the wheel was just fine. The tires are so low profile that they're pretty rugged. And I even drove on it some more before I actually got it fixed because I had to. And it was just fine. Turn right here. This is where it happened. This city cannot keep its roads clean. It's ridiculous, the things I see in the road every day. So I fully expected to fix it myself on the side of the road, and it has some tools in the back. Turns out this car doesn't come with a spare tire, so I couldn't do that. Called a tow truck, and the tow truck took forever to get there, even though I was 3 miles down the road. But I understand they're probably out helping other people. Then it was dark by then. Eventually they got there. They put me up on the truck, and that was a big ordeal. They didn't want to get in the car or touch the car because they don't usually do expensive cars, they said, so they didn't want to be liable. So I had to It was an older tow truck, so I kind of had to drive the car up onto the truck. They towed it home for me, and I thought, you know what, I'll just take this tire off. I'll just take this wheel off at home, and I'll take the wheel in and get a new tire for it. At that time, I discovered that these are directional tires, and 2 of the tires were on the wrong way. So that irritated me. I also like matching tires, and the tires on this car are apparently not made anymore, so nobody could get them. So I had to find one on eBay and get that one, but it shipped in 1 day somehow. I didn't pay for 1-day shipping. It was crazy. I go to take this wheel off, and I can't get it. It doesn't have lug nuts, it has lug bolts. So you don't put a bolt onto a nut that's already in the hub. So the whole thing is the bolt. And it would not come off no matter how hard I tried. So my neighbor came over with actually first I bought a torque wrench, or an impact gun. And it was a pretty hardcore one, the most hardcore one I could buy around here. And they didn't budge. So my neighbor heard the commotion, I guess. He came over, and I had never talked to him before, and he was nice enough to bring over like a 4-foot breaker bar. And he's a big guy, and we were trying to get these off, and we got 2 of them loose. The other 3 would not come loose with a 4-foot breaker bar, and this almost 300-pound guy putting all of his weight onto it. So there was some sort of issue, and that was irritating to me. So I took it up to the shop, the Audi dealership, and I knew that I didn't want to round off the bolts or anything, so I just took it to the dealership. And they said they tried for hours with impact guns, with breaker bars, and they could not get any of them loose. So they were going to have to cut the wheel off. That's what they told me. They said they were going to have to plasma torch the wheel off. And that sounded horrendous to me. They showed me a picture of a car they did about a week before, and the wheel was absolutely destroyed. And these are expensive wheels. I, of course, didn't want that. So I called around, and a lot of places around here are small shops, kind of backwoods. A lot of them do semi-trucks and stuff, mostly. Again, a lot of them didn't want to touch it. They weren't comfortable messing with the car, because they usually do low-priced cars. They weren't really comfortable messing with a more expensive car. So there was one shop, and these were really cool guys. They said they guaranteed me they could get it off, and they wouldn't even charge me. Of course, I have it towed over to them all the way on the other side of town. They were really cool. One of the guys, he has a really awesome BMW Z3, I think it was, might have been a 4. Let's open this up a little bit right here. This is a fun car. Well, they tried for a couple of hours. They used a huge impact gun that they use for semi-trucks, and they use for giant cargo trucks and stuff. And I forgot what it was. It was like 4,000 or 5,000 foot-pound impact gun. It was crazy, and nothing worked. So I realized by then I was going to have to get it cut off. So I took it back to Audi. I was like, just cut it off. And they did. They were extremely nice about it. They only did what they had to do. And the technician actually went out and bought a bunch of things to not hurt my wheel. He bought aluminum foil to help distribute the heat. He bought some sort of heat gel to help distribute the heat, keep it from hurting my wheel. And he bought a special tool that would help him grab the bolt better or something. I don't know. But I was expecting to see a destroyed, burnt up wheel when they were done, and there's like a thumbnail sized burn, I guess you could say. It just looks like a small gouge about the size of a thumbnail. And that's all that happened to it. I guess inside the lug well, it's a little bit black, but you don't really notice that. It just looks like dirt. But altogether, this whole thing cost over $1,000 just for a blown tire. I had to pay for 3 or 4 tows. I had to pay for the tow back to my house, the tow to Audi, the tow to the other shop, and then tow back to Audi. So that's 4 tows. Each one was about $70 to $80. Had to pay for the new tire, which I got on eBay for an awesome deal since they're discontinued. It was like $100. I had to pay for the Audi shop trying to get the lugs off, so they charged me for that time. I had to pay for having the wheel cut off and new lug bolts, and also I had them swap the tires around so that the directional ones are all correct. They didn't even charge me for the extra tools the technician went out and bought, which was pretty cool. So all in all, I think I calculated it to be right under $1,200, which is crazy. I was about ready. It took like 2 weeks also. So I had my car I bought it, took a week to ship, I got to drive it for about a week, and then I had to deal with this for 2 weeks. I was about ready to just sell it then. So then I contacted the dealership I bought it from, and I'm not going to mention their name because I've had a horrible experience with them. They're a terrible dealership. I don't want anyone to even look at them or give them any sort of attention. But I said, hey, what the heck? They also had to loosen all the other wheels. They weren't as bad, but it was still tough. But they got those ones off. I said, what the heck? Did you change the tires on this thing? Because someone way over-tightened. It's like they over-tightened as much as they could with red Loctite, and then also the lug bolts got like heat welded to the hub. It's crazy. I don't think you know how crazy this is. That nobody could get it off, even with the craziest equipment. They said they didn't touch the tires. They said the tires were good when they got it, so I don't know if I should believe them because they lied to me about a million other things. But I had a bunch of other problems with the car, which would have cost way more than that to fix, and I was upset with them anyway, so they're like, look, we'll pay you back for all of this, and we'll call it all good. And I was like, okay. So it took about 2 more months of me hounding them and sending them receipts and adding things up for them because apparently their CFO doesn't know how to add. And eventually I get a check in the mail for like $600. When I sent them all the receipts and then a very large itemized list with numbers totaling everything it cost, and they were still off by 50%. It was so bad, and I was just too tired to deal with them anymore, so I just dropped it. But it was ridiculous. I mean, I'm grateful that they paid for any of it because they didn't have to, but still, don't tell me you're going to pay for it and then only give me half of what it cost. And I understand not paying for like all the tows, but the first and second tows, those are kind of in with the cost of it. And still, they should have given me more than that, even if they weren't counting the tows. Even if they didn't count any of the tows. So that's really the only thing I've had to pay for or had go wrong with this car, and it was my fault for the flat tire, but it was not my fault for all of the hassle getting the wheel off. But it's been smooth sailing ever since, and now that I say that, something's going to go wrong today. I guess it's kind of clickbaity since the dealership was actually really cool. They were like $700 or $800 of the cost was them though, which I think is a little absurd. So they are kind of a rip-off. Dealerships are rip-offs. It's sad, but it's true. And when I need their help finding a new car, like I did with this, they can't be bothered. But then you need some work done and they'll charge you out the crap hole. Subscribe, click that bell for notifications. Like I do moto vlogs if you're new to the channel, but I've been wanting to do more car vlogs. If you like car vlogs, let me know. If you want me to stick to moto vlogs, let me know. I don't care either way. I just want to know what you want.